hope you can hear me okay. We've had some microphone issues, so if I think I'm being too loud, I'm going to think I'm not. But if you guys think I am, please let me know. My name's John Delaney, and I'm the Commission's designated presiding officer for this hearing. Today's March 7th, 2023, and it's approximately 9 a.m. And this is the date and time that's scheduled for the hearing on applicant Mountain Sewer Corporation's application for an interim rate increase in document 22097-01. Is that correct? Okay, we're all on the same flight. Okay, let's start with appearances, please, for the applicant.
I'll turn my mic on. Craig Smith and Jennifer Crockett Bowen were the attorneys for the applicant. And then we have Mr. Ray Bowden, who is here. He is the owner of the applicant. We have Mr. Lynn Woods. He's the accountant for Mountain Sewer.
Where's Mr. Woods? Okay, great.
And we have Chad. I'm trying to remember, Chad, your last name. But Kramer. He's the operator of the sewer system. And then we have Mr. Bill Duncan. He's our consultant who's been helping us with our filing.
Okay. Great. And for the division?
Patrick Grecu and Patricia Schmidt with the Attorney General's Office representing the Division of Public Utilities. And our witness today is Joanna Matty Jasik.
Would you spell that?
I will. M-A-T-Y J-A-S-I-K.
Jasik. Great, thank you. Okay, any preliminary matters that need to be raised? Okay, I'm going to raise one. So with respect to the issues of confidentiality, why don't we do this first and then we'll do it again. But I think it makes sense to start with the applicant, and please identify which of the witnesses that will be testifying about confidential information, so that the court reporter knows, so everybody has a heads up when they come up, because then I'm going to ask you to make sure that when the person testifies that prior to their testimony that the confidentiality issue is addressed so that we deal with it appropriately.
I think, Jennifer, what do you?
So Ray Bowden, and then Lynn Woods, and Bill Duncan will all have confidential information.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm assuming with respect to the division's response, you'll be addressing confidential information that these folks have talked about, correct?
Yes, I think we can address their application without diving into confidential information, but.
Okay. Unless I have some questions that are confidential. Okay. All right, well, why don't we get going here, and if you'd like to, applicant's counsel, call your first witness.
Thank you. We would call Mr. Ray Bowden.
Please. Well, I don't know, you're going to examine from there. Do you guys care if he comes to the stand? Yeah, you're welcome to sit. Because it's going to be hard to examine him from there with him
From the
looking
side,
that
yeah.
way. Okay, sorry, who did you call?
Sorry, Mr. Ray Bowden.
Okay.
And we've done pre-filed testimony. Do you want me to run through the pre-filed testimony? And
I'd like you to do whatever you need to do to
Okay,
get into the
that's what we'll
record
do.
that
Okay.
evidence that's necessary.
I just want to make sure not missing something, but not over covering something. Mr. Bowden, would you?
Mr. Smith, pardon me.
Yes.
Let me swear the witness.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Melissa. Mr. Bowden, do you swear to tell the truth? Yes. Thank you. He's sworn.
Thank you. Could you state your name and your position with Mountain Sewer?
I'm Ray Bowden, and I'm the owner of Mountain Sewer like you are.
And tell us just briefly how you Yeah, move the mic closer to you and turn it on, yeah. That'll help.
Is that better?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. It's on. There.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah,
Great.
please do that as necessary.
How did you become involved with Mountain Sewer?
I got involved with Mountain Sewer in 2011, when the developer up there come to me and needed a loan. He was trying to take care of paying for all his water shares and stuff. He didn't have the money. I did make a loan to him at that time. And then he defaulted on that loan, and I acquired his subdivision with a water and sewer company.
Okay, so you acquired all three at the same time?
Yes.
And about what year was that?
2011.
Okay, and what's your position, and since that time, have you been the president of Mountain Sewer?
Yes.
And you've been the I guess for lack of a better term, chief executive officer, make all the final decisions as regarding the operation of the Mountain Sewer?
Yes.
And I'd like you to talk about the operational position of the company when you acquired Mountain Sewer in 2011.
Well, soon after I acquired the company, I became aware that Mountain Sewer was under investigation from the Department in Environmental Quality.
And what was DEQ? I'll call it environmental quality, DEQ. What was DEQ investigating at that time regarding Mountain Sewer?
They were investigating allegations that there was raw sewage that was leaked into Pineview Reservoir, which later the allegations were false, and it was actually leaking in a storm area that was able to secure. And I took back trucks up and evacuated all of that and made the changes to correct it.
Okay, maybe just to give some context, where is Mountain Sewer located?
It's on the road as you go up to Snow Basin.
Okay, so it's just south of Pineview Reservoir?
Yes.
And where's the treatment part of the facility? That's located in the same area, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess it's very plausible sewage could be leaking. You're uphill from Pineview Reservoir, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. And so, were you able to remedy the deficiency in the operational capacity of this sewer company?
What was that now?
Were you able to fix the problem?
Yes, we was able to fix the problem in a
Okay.
really short order.
And did Mountain Sewer have money to pay for that fix?
No, I didn't. I had to make loans to get all of these changes done and get them up to state codes.
So what was, when you acquired Mountain Sewer through, I guess it was deed in lieu of foreclosure? Was that
Yes.
kind of how that would be
Yes.
described? I take it there wasn't much cash
No,
in the
there's no
company?
cash.
And so what did you, were there sufficient funds to even operate the company at that time?
No, I had to loan money to get that done.
Okay. And what steps did you take to correct this financial deficiency?
Let me see. What I did is I was able to make a loan to Mountain Sewer and Lakeview Water. And from those loans was able to go ahead and make the corrections we needed to on both companies. And as we needed it, I would just lend more money to try to get it done, because we had to bring them up to codes.
Okay. And do you know how much, what's the balance of these loans that you made to Mountain Sewer?
Okay. The long-term note payable is $742,568.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, you sought a rate increase from the Public Service Commission. Do you recall doing that?
Yes.
And that was that Docket 11-09701?
Yes.
And you obtained a rate increase through that docket.
Yes.
And was that enough to operate the company?
On a temporary basis, it was.
Okay. And I think that was in what, 2011 that you did, was it 2011 or 20, I think it was 2012 when that was finally approved, is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. How about recently? Have there been cost increases in operating the company?
Yes, and some of the cost increases that we have right now, one is, we had Spence King, he was the operator, and was paying him between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. And he came down with a liver problem. He had to get a new liver, and it just got to a point to where he couldn't handle the job anymore. And so I had to go outside and find another manager that could manage the water and sewer company. And they don't work for $50,000 anymore. The
Yes.
gentleman that I hired, his salary's right around $100,000.
Okay. But I take it he's a certified operator
He is
for the sewer system?
very certified.
Okay. So that so that cost increased, and I take it that your operator also is the operator for the sewer, also operates the water company as well?
Yes, that's correct.
And so that 100,000 would be split between the
Yes,
two companies?
correct.
Okay, so there was that increase from approximately 20,000 a year to 50,000 a year for Mountain Sewer.
Yes.
What other costs have you, increased costs have you incurred?
Well, for the long term, we had to Legacy Mountain that John Lewis is doing.
Okay, well, before we get to that, have you had, who operates, who runs, you have a manager, that's Chad, right?
Yes.
You also have, office staff, correct?
Yes.
And tell me who's your office staff?
We've got, Elaine Thomas,
Okay, and have you had to increase their salaries as well, their pay as well?
somewhat, not as much as I should have.
Okay. Well, you better be careful about saying that on the record, but anyway, they'll be asking for a raise as soon as you get back in the office, so. And then there's been a recent expansion, I understand, in the service area of Mountain Sewer, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that for the Legacy Mountain Estates subdivision?
Yes, with the 48 lots.
Okay, yeah, tell us a little bit about that subdivision that recently became part of the service area of the Mountain Sewer.
You know, this property is just located west of where we currently are now. And John Lewis came in and got 48 lots approved. And yes, there was 48 lots that was approved.
Okay,
And along with that, we had to do the infrastructure and stuff, which John was able to, I mean, they call LME. They took care of all of the necessary infrastructure and sewer and any other needs that might come into play.
okay, so you required the developer, Mr. Lewis, who was the developer of that subdivision through his company, Legacy Mountain Estates, you required that company to install all of the on-site sewage or sewer lines and facilities that were needed to serve that subdivision, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that was not at your cost, that was at their cost?
It's at their cost.
Okay, and then, have those been completed?
I'd say Chad, what do you think, about 90%?
Maybe 75.
75?
Okay, and then when they're completed, they're gonna transfer ownership of those to Mountain Sewer, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what are other additional costs that may be associated with are there any other additional costs associated with Legacy Mountain Estates?
On the long term, there will be, but once they start paying their monthly shares, will be closed. But there's going to be a lot more electricity used. we're gonna need additional, labor at times.
Okay. So you'll have increased basically, it's going to be a bigger company with the 48 new lots,
Yes,
correct?
it's gonna be a bigger company.
And these all single-family houses
Yes, they are.
when they're built? I take it they're not built yet.
They're not, there's just, what is there, maybe 3 up there?
They're building those now, okay. Have you had a chance to review the proposed rate structure in this docket?
Yes, I have.
And do you believe these rates will be sufficient to provide safe, healthy, and reliable sewer service to the customers of Mountain Sewer?
I do.
Will there be enough to generate a necessary reserves for or a capital reserve fund for the company?
Yes, there should be enough to take care of, we can start putting money
Okay.
in our reserve account, and then there's, of course, the money that's owed to me.
Okay, now, we're here today asking for,
Sorry. Okay, yeah, we'll be able to build up the reserve account, and then along with that, the reserve account will have additional funds that we'll be able to look into.
okay. Now, we're here today, the hearing today is about our interim rates, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you believe the interim rate that's been proposed is necessary for the company?
Yes, I do.
And why do you think why is it necessary for us to have interim rates before we, go through this process and get our final rates in place?
Well, right now, every month we're here now, we're losing money.
Okay. And how much has that deficit averaged over the past 3 years? Would that be $64,621?
Yes.
Okay. And how much will the interim rates generate, additional how much revenue will they generate on an annual basis, the interim rates?
About 120.
Okay. Do you believe that the proposed rates are just, reasonable, and in the public interest?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you want to tell the commission?
Not at this time, I don't. Not at this time.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have from this witness.
Cross-examination division?
No questions.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, Mr. Bowden. Thank you for being here. I wanted to get some clarification on a couple of things.
Okay.
One is you just testified about the deficit, I guess an average or an approximation. And you testified about that also in your direct testimony. Where do I see that in the exhibits that have been submitted? And if this is a question for Mr. Duncan or Mr. Woods, please tell me, but I'll ask you since you testified about it.
Yeah, Bill.
And if you can't answer that question, I will ask them separately.
Yes, I'd have you ask them.
Okay, thank you. Another question I need some clarification on, and again, if you are not the exact person, let me know. The application, it's the interim rate application says the current tariff is $68. And that's for the connected customers only. But Exhibit B, which is the actual tariff, says it's $84.25. And so my question is, what am I missing?
Bill, can you help me with that?
And again,
Oh, Bill,
Mr. Bowden, if you can't answer that, just tell me and I'll ask somebody else.
yes, I think that would be better asked with Bill.
Mr. Duncan, okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, one last question, since you testified about this. The interim application states that the interim rates are justified and reasonable, and it will allow Mountain Sewer to operate at a net gain, meet current obligations, be self-sustaining, et cetera. That's on page 6 of the, or on paragraph 6 of the application.
Yes.
When it says current obligation, does that include debt?
No,
It does not?
no.
Okay. So then the clarification is on Exhibit F, there is a representation that there is no outstanding debt. Number 9 on page 2 of Exhibit F says Mountain Sewer does not currently have any notes payable, loans, or other obligations. See the testimony of Ray Bowden for more information. I thought I heard you testify that there was a debt outstanding of $742,000. Is that accurate?
Lynn, is that accurate?
That's money that's owed to Ray that he's fronted. It isn't actually with a.
Okay, let me just do this. Mr. Bowden, do you know the answer to that question?
I'll let Lynn.
Okay, and I'll ask you, Mr. Woods, when we get to that then. Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Did you want to, do you have any further redirect, Mr. Smith?
Not at this time.
Okay, great.
So it actually draw. Okay. We're going to call Mr. I should say William Duncan as our next witness.
Good morning, Mr. Duncan. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Could you state your name and occupation?
My name's William Duncan. I'm an independent consultant that I've been retained by Mountain Sewer to develop rates that can be, that are just and reasonable for this company. Is it too close? Okay, there we go.
We could, and maybe if you wanted me, we could switch places
No,
if that would help. or-
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I didn't know I had to be this close.
Just want to make sure we get a good record.
Okay, my name's William Duncan. I'm an independent consultant. I've been retained by Mountain Sewer to develop a rate structure that's just and reasonable for this company.
Now, I understand the regulated sewer companies are kind of a rare thing here in Utah. When I say regulated by the Public Service Commission. But do you have some history or background in rate regulation, regulation generally, and Mountain Sewer specifically?
Yes, I worked for the Division of Public Utilities for 12 years and managed all of the water cases. Mountain Sewer is the only sewer company that, at least during my tenure, that the Public Service Commission regulated. I don't know if they've picked up any more since I left, but, and I was involved with Mountain Sewer on their 2012 rate case.
Okay. And so I take it you have, so you had a number of years you worked here at the I shouldn't say here, at the Division of Public Utilities on water companies and electrical companies, things like that.
I worked water and telephone.
Well, I'm sorry, water and telephone, okay. And what's your role for Mountain Sewer in this matter?
My role was to take the information provided in the Public Service Commission reports and use that as a basis for developing rates.
Okay. Have you audited, though, the source documents that you've reviewed?
No, I did not. The source documents are given to the accountants, and they develop the annual reports, including income statements, balance sheets, and that sort of thing.
Okay, and those are the ones that are submitted to the Public Service Commission?
Correct.
Can you tell me the goals and objectives of the rates that you've helped prepare that are proposed here today?
Yes, the major goal is to keep mountain sewer financially sustainable, allow them to meet their costs and recover enough revenue to meet those costs.
Okay. How about establishment of reserve fund? Does Mountain
Well,
Sewer have a reserve fund?
Mountain Sewer does not have a reserve fund, and yes, the rate should allow enough depreciation expense to be put into a reserve fund.
Should it have a reserve fund?
I believe so, yes.
So I take it without a reserve fund, if something needed to be replaced or repaired, there wouldn't be funding for it.
Yes, if they have a problem, and they don't have a reserve fund to cover that, then, well, for one thing, they can't fix the problem quickly is one of the things, or they have to borrow money from the owner. But with a reserve fund, they can tackle the problem, fix it quickly, and then begin rebuilding the reserve fund for whatever they had to use.
Are you familiar with rate design used by the Division of Public Utilities?
Yes,
And do these objectives match those that are used by the Division of Public Utilities in reviewing rates?
yes, I believe the Division of Public Utilities still uses rate models that have similar objectives.
Okay. Does the current mountain sewer rate structure accommodate the goals that we've talked about of being able to, meet expenses, have reserve fund, that sort of thing?
No, I don't believe it does. It doesn't provide enough revenue to meet their current costs. Plus, there are some known and measurable changes, and it doesn't provide enough for a reserve fund. Or at least an adequate reserve fund, especially with some of the new obligations they're taking on.
How does the current rate proposal address the problems?
Well, one of the things that we have changed in this rate structure is to align the revenues received on the monthly billing from the customers to be able to cover all of the operations and maintenance expenses. Connection charges have been covering this company for the last few years. They've used connection charges to subsidize costs that should be covered by monthly billed revenue. So I think we've lowered the connection charges or proposed connection charges and then raised the monthly charges so that we can get the revenues and costs more in alignment.
Because I take it, if you're operating your company on connection charges, at some point, you run out of new connections.
At some point, new connections are not predictable. You don't know how many you're gonna get in any given year. And so while it may work for a year or two, it doesn't work on an ongoing basis.
Okay. I know that you've submitted a number of exhibits with your testimony. I want to just quickly have you describe what these exhibits are and what they're intended to show.
Okay.
We'll start with Exhibit 2.1, revenue requirement.
Okay, 2.1 calculates the revenue requirement by establishing a baseline cost, which I'm calling a normalized cost in column F, and then adding known and measurable changes in column G to develop a pro forma income statement in column H, and that revenue requirement comes out at $361,106. You can see on line 65 that there have been losses. The revenues did not cover the operational costs. But down below on line 70, it looks like they had a profit a couple of years, but it's because those connection fees subsidized the revenues that should be coming from monthly billing.
Okay, also, I think we need to have you identify which portions of, which exhibits of these might be confidential or should be held
Oh.
confidential.
Okay,
I forgot to
they've
do
all got financial information on them, so
Okay.
I would say that, well, a couple of them aren't. That 2.1 is definitely confidential.
Okay. And who prepared Exhibit 2.1?
Do
I
you
did.
want to, hold on one second, Mr. Smith, is there anybody in the room who is not, who is okay to be in the room, or who should not be in the room? Counsel, please look.
As far as, yeah, I don't know everybody here. I do recognize some of the people in the room. I recognize Chris back there, but,
Okay, well, this is your client's confidential information, so I'll leave it to you to make
Yeah.
a determination.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about Exhibit 2.2 base rate.
2.2
Oh,
is.
I'm sorry, let me ask, to the best of your knowledge, is Exhibit 2.1 accurate and correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, I'm sorry, let's go to,
Excuse me, one sec, let's go off the record. Record, is everyone ready? Okay, so with respect to the confidentiality designations, what did you guys decide?
Yeah, we're going to designate, oh, I'm sorry. Turn my mic on and get it closer. All of the exhibits that we're going to testify with this witness are confidential,
Okay,
and we're designating them as such.
okay, so we will close the hearing for the remainder of Mr. Duncan's testimony as it relates to these exhibits. Is that an accurate representation? Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Please proceed.
Mr. Wood, could you state your name and occupation?
Lynn Wood, I'm a licensed CPA working with Child Richards CPA, and I will testify for Mountain Sewer.
Okay. And what has been your involvement with Mountain Sewer?
Well, since 2011, we've been the accountants, and our duty has been to receive the source documents, that is bank statements, deposit slips, checks, and create an accounting, which is double entry, which is in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And so we basically go through and categorize the checks and revenues and so forth and create a balance sheet and income statement. Then from that, we prepare the Public Service Commission report.
So that's the annual report that, I'm sorry, get closer. That's the annual report that the Mountain Sewer submits to the Public Service Commission.
Correct.
And you're the person who's in charge of putting that report together.
Correct.
And you base that on business documents like checks and check registers. I take it that's the things that accountants normally look at to prepare those kind of reports.
Correct.
Okay. And you've been doing that every year since 2011?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you follow the generally accepted accounting practices? If you know what GAAP is, I'm sure you do, since you've been doing this a long time.
Yes, yes.
And you follow those practices, and as far as your understanding, those reports and the information that you provided through those reports to Mr. Duncan would be accurate and correct.
That's correct.
Do you believe that these annual reports accurately reflect the financial position of Mountain Sewer when they're submitted to the Public Service Commission?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any other things that you'd like to share with us, or have we covered what you do?
No, I would just say that we worked extensively with Mr. Duncan, and we also brought in Elaine Thomas, who's been previously referenced. We've done some analytical procedures to make sure that we had accurate numbers for this submission, and so there's been a lot of work go into this to ensure the accuracy.
And tell us who Elaine Thomas is, just so we have that in the record.
She's the one that does the billing up in Huntsville.
Okay. So she handles the billing for Mountain Sewer and the payments.
Right, we reviewed her work to make sure the billing was correct.
Great. I'd move for the admission of Mr. Wood's pre-filed testimony at this time.
Any objection?
No objection.
Motion granted.
That's all the questions I have for Mr. Oh, wait, I do have another about, I'm sorry, I was going to ask about, you heard Mr. Duncan testify. Anything you want to add to the loan situation or the debt situation
I
of the
think,
company?
it's difficult to, I would call that more of an accounts payable. It's kind of a demand note more than, it isn't evidenced by a note or any security pledged or anything like that. It was just simply necessary to keep the doors open, this kind of infusion of money, and there's been no interest accrued or anything like that. And we've kept track of that number for all these years, so.
So that's where that number comes from, is that you kept track of monies that Mr. Bowden infused or injected into the Mountain Sewer to keep it running.
Correct,
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Wood, I have a follow-up on the question about the debt. So what I just understood you to say is that, I'm assuming this has been maybe growing over time, that is, there's been new infusions at different times over the years, is that accurate?
That's accurate,
And you have kept records as to when this new cash comes in, and it just continues to build, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So you do have dates of when these things,
Right,
happened.
correct,
okay. In the testimony, there is also a reference to private loans. as well as to long-term obligations reflected in the balance sheet. Are those two different things?
No, they're the same, I believe. Uh-huh.
Okay, because in the main application, which I know it's the main application, but it speaks to the interim rate, it does use the phrase private loans. And you're testifying that those are Mr. Bowen's loans to the company?
That's correct. There's only one loan on the balance sheet, and it's to Mr. Bowden. Uh-huh.
Okay. So the phrase private loans taken out to meet expenses, that's taken out from Mr. Bowden
Correct.
by the company?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Is that an entity like this would have an enormous difficulty going to a bank and borrowing money. The bank would not, they'd run scared from a loan like that. So the only option you have, and local governments have the ability to issue revenue bonds to pay for infrastructure, but private companies are, for a number of reasons, the banks don't want to loan them money.
Okay. And based on your recollection, you've been doing this work for Mountain Sewer since 2011, right?
That's correct.
Do you remember back to 2011, if there was an outstanding balance at that point on this chunk of money?
I'm sure there was. I don't recall what it was, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I don't have anything further. Anybody else? Redirect?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to call Chad Kramer as our next witness.
Good morning, Mr. Kramer. Thanks for being here. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, would you state your name and occupation for the record?
Yes, Chad Kramer. I work as an operator for Mountain Sewer.
Okay, and you also work for Lakeview Water, I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long have you been employed by Mountain Sewer Lakeview Water?
Since last year of August, September.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you have experience operating water, well, let's start with waste, so we're here for Mountain Sewer wastewater systems.
I do, yes, sir.
And what is your experience operating wastewater systems?
I've been in it over 20 years and accumulated my wastewater certifications and just complied every year with drinking water standards and, such as my CEUs. And I went down to rural water conferences every year and just try to keep up on the new and improved.
Did you ever win anything down there?
Yes,
a
sir,
joke.
I did.
They do give prizes there. I was just,
Yes,
they
yes.
just had their conference. I spoke at it on Friday.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the things they keep people there to the very end is they have all these great raffles with these great prizes, and they wait till, that's the very last thing, and you have to be present to win, so.
Yes, yes.
You can't skip out into the nice weather of St. George, but anyway, that was a joke, but. So tell me about your wastewater certifications. Is that issued by the state of Utah?
It is, yes, sir.
And what is your level of certification?
3, level 3, 4 is the highest. 4 is based off of how many people you service, and I've just never been at a big city. That's for like Salt Lake City and big, more
Okay.
government.
So level 3 is the highest level that you can have operating this system.
Yeah, just overqualified for a small system like this,
Okay.
private.
And where else have you, I take it you've worked other places doing
Yes, sir.
water and
Yep,
wastewater.
yep.
Can you just briefly tell us where else you've,
Yeah, so I was always, worked for Magna Water for 15 years, and then just kind of moved on and went to smaller areas. I really loved the rural area. It has its benefits, and I been at Oakley City. I was a supervisor for water and wastewater there at Oakley City, and then I was at Morgan City, and I became the water supervisor at Morgan
Okay.
City.
and then I take it that you just don't get a certification by filling out some form and giving the city. You have to take a test and have experience. Is that correct, to have your
Yes, yes, sir.
certifications? And so you
yep.
passed your tests, I take it?
Mhm, yes, sir.
Okay. do you know why you're here today to testify?
Yes, sir. Yep.
What are you here to testify about?
I'm just here to, also, my hat goes off to Mr. Ray Bowden just for what he's contributed and done, where I have always worked for a government entity, and knowing somebody out there that cares about, drinking water and, his wastewater, and, I did my diligence before I got hired on full-time, is I looked into, the system with the drinking water division just to see about red flags and things, and boy, he's kept up on everything, so
Okay.
it's made it real easy to transfer over to the private side, because that is a little scary, just the liabilities and things like that.
Okay, and how would you describe the mountain sewer system, the condition of the system at this time?
Yeah, really good. There's some upgrades that were taking place with the SCADA system on just notifying a problem within seconds. The SCADA system is, everything is improved every year through computers and technology. And so when I came on, we talked about improving those things just because of the lagoons and the lift stations are so very close to, drinking water. And so we just want to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row to.
And what are some of the improvements to the sewer system that have you been involved in since you went to work there last fall?
Yeah, so what we've been improving is the SCADA system, and then also just trying to make sure that Legacy and, that new growth is gonna, comply with our old stuff, and we're upgrading that because it does bring, more of a level, of like a catch basin for the lift stations and things like that. So we've been in with the engineer trying to figure out what the best pumps are to, for the application of Legacy to bring in the growth, so.
And do you have any planned improvements to make to the sewer system at the current time?
Yes, we do have some in place. I haven't presented. I apologize. We just got with the engineer and trying to, we did buy some new lift station pumps to comply with the new growth and to keep up on, because what happens is you flush the toilet up on the hillside and it flows down to our lift stations. Them lift stations, they have a level that they go off of and they kick on and pump it up to the lagoons, up to Old Basin Road. And so we're just trying to, so much is in take with the pumps. You have to have the horsepower, your brake power, the elevation of all that to fit the right pumps.
And can you, I know, when you say SCADA, I know what you mean.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I've wasted my life
Yes.
on things like that.
It's just a lot of computer. Everything's, it's like a brain inside that lift station that
Takes
tells
like,
you.
and then it takes measurements continuously and then feeds it to a computer, and that way you know what's happening on real time.
Yep, yep.
Instead of having to go, like, read a meter or go
Yep.
look at a
Yeah,
certain part.
so one thing about it is this isn't just a job from 8 to 5, correct? It's a job, it's 24/7. I'm responsible for the sewer to get pumped and to get up to the lagoons all night, every weekend, to make sure that operations are, correct and running.
You work full-time, obviously,
Yes, sir.
for these companies. Do you have any help?
Not too much here yet. We're planning on it. We contracted a SCADA guy, a computer guy, and he does pumps. And if I take any time off, he lives in Huntsville and he helps us, run it until I get back. So that's how we're operating as right now.
Okay. Are you familiar with, let's talk about the Legacy Mountain Edition, the new area. Have you been involved in inspecting its facilities that they're going to be dedicating to the company?
Yes, sir.
And tell me about what you found. Are they meeting your?
They've done a really good job. They hired Geneva to do the infrastructure of the whole design, and boy, I've been around, obviously, you know, handful of places, and they did a really good job on, you know, meeting AWWA standards and drinking water and on the sewer. And so we have a little punch list that we're working through to get things corrected with Legacy, just to be to be compliance with the state. And so we're wrapping them up as soon as we can get the snow to melt.
Well, maybe, hopefully not for a while. We still need some more, but that's another story. Any benefits from the addition, do you see will be a benefit to the existing customers by the addition of the Legacy Mountain subdivision?
Yes, it's just nice that, you know, the improvements are done correctly and right. And as we know, everything's growing. Where's everybody gonna go in 5, 10 years? And having a contractor, you know, come in and provide all the right stuff instead of trying to scab, you know, as least amount as possible. They used really good equipment and you know, we have a booster station up there that they put in, and yeah, as far as everything, it's really good. So
Now, go back to the system as a whole. Your system's regulated by the Division of Water Quality, the sewer system, correct?
yes, sir.
Are you meeting all the standards of as far as you know, of this?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, and then also, you heard Mr. Duncan testify about some poll, not a poll, what is it? You went out and counted?
Yeah. Yep. Individuals, all the accounts that we had, and then also all the unimproved and approved lots that they have, and you know, went through just house by house to make sure we had all our accounts.
So you want to make sure you had the right count of,
Yep.
of not only connections, because
Right,
we have
right.
some with multiple units, but units and also future connections, right?
Yes, sir. Correct.
And you did that work.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, did you do it as accurately as you could?
Yes, sir.
And that's the information that you provided Mr. Duncan that he used as a basis for
Yes.
his testimony, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say, or does that?
No, I just thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all the questions I have. Oh, I would. I'd move for admission of his pre-filed testimony of Chad Kramer.
Any objections?
No objections.
Motion granted.
No questions.
Mr. Kramer, thanks for coming. I've got one question, and perhaps I should have posed it to Mr. Duncan, but we can go back there.
Okay.
Do you know when Mountain Sewer will take possession of the LME assets?
I'm thinking it should be around midsummer time. You know, there's some little small things. We have a little punch list that they need to upgrade. And then, you know, unfortunately, there's 6 feet of snow. They can't do a whole bunch with it and with the weather. And it'll be probably towards the midsummer. Yep.
July 2023,
May-
August?
Maybe August, yes, sir. Yeah, maybe towards August. And we've been working with Weber County as well, and they're aware of the punch list that I had brought to their attention to be fixed, and so we hope that 100% we take over and be able to get that.
Great, thank you.
In August. Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions.
Those are our witnesses for today's hearing.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. Why don't we turn to the division?
The division would like to call Joanna Matajasic.
Good morning still, Mrs. Matajasic. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
The
Could you please state and spell your name?
Joanna Matajasic, JOANNAMATYJASIK.
And who is your employer?
The Division of Public Utilities,
And your title?
Utility Analyst.
And what is your business address?
160 East, 300 South, Heber Wells Building, 4th floor, Salt Lake City, Utah.
And have you participated in this docket on behalf of the division?
Yes.
Did you prepare and cause to be filed or participate in the preparation and filing of the division's action request response filed on February 22nd, 2023 in this docket?
Yes.
And do you have any changes or corrections to the division's action request response?
No.
And do you adopt that filing as part of your testimony today?
Yes.
I'd like to move for admission of the division's action request response that was filed with the commission on February 22nd, 2023.
Any objections?
No objection.
Motion granted.
And do you have a summary to share with us today?
I do.
Thanks. Please proceed.
The division has performed a preliminary review of Mountain Sewer's application for interim rate increase and its application for general rate increase, including the applications, exhibits, and testimonies. The division wishes to bring to the commission's attention that Mountain Sewer's last rate increase became effective on October 30th, 2012, in docket numbers 11-097-01, 11-097-02, and 11-097-03. Since Mountain Sewer's last rate increase, the inflation rate was approximately 27.5%. The interim rate requested is a 26.5% increase. Due in part to inflation and increased maintenance on its aging infrastructure, both Mr. Ray Bowden and Mr. William Duncan testified that Mountain Sewer has operated at a loss over the past 3 years, creating the need for an immediate increase until the final rates are approved. Based on the overall body of information filed, Mountain Sewer has made an adequate prima facie showing that the requested interim rate increase is justified. Mountain Sewer's existing sewer rates are inadequate, and the proposed interim rates are necessary, reasonable, and are more likely to reflect actual sewer costs than current rates. Any approved interim rates are subject to the Commission's right to order a refund or surcharge. In conclusion, the division believes that the requested interim rates are just and reasonable and in the public interest, and recommends that the Commission approve the interim rates as filed in Mountain Sewer's application for interim rate increase.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination?
No questions.
I have a question. I'm looking at the office, the response to the action request, and I think this answers the question, but earlier there was some testimony regarding the tariff amount. Exhibit B of the application listed the tariff amount as at $84.25, and it appears to that was not accurate. It should be $68. Is that the number you used in your analysis, the $68, in making your analysis and concluding that it was just and reasonable to go up to 86 as a proposed interim rate? I can repeat that if it was unclear.
Correct. The 68 was used.
Okay. And if I understand your testimony, the bases for your recommendation include the inflation rate as it currently exists relative to the percentage of the cost of the proposed rate increase. Is that right? One basis.
Yes.
Okay. And then also aging infrastructure, that was another reason.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything in particular specific, other than just aging infrastructure, that you can identify from your analysis?
The SCADA upgrades that are necessary.
Okay. And when are those going to be, when are those going to occur, do you know?
I am not sure.
Okay.
Janet knows.
Okay, that's all I have. Any redirect or cross?
No.
No.
Okay.
If you want, if you'd like more information on SCADA, I can have testimony from one of the other witnesses talk about at least the timing of our SCADA improvements, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, so,
So
we,
Mr. Kramer's testifying.
Yeah.
and we're working on them as of right now, and, we hope to have them in by, July, so.
2023.
Yep, that's if all the parts and everything, with the water industry, the parts are really hard to get. And so we're just trying to order everything and get it all up and running by July.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very helpful. Okay, any other witnesses? Okay. Any closing remarks? You don't have to.
Well, I'll just be very brief. We think we've met the standard showing that the interim rate request is necessary and reasonable. Obviously, the commission's empowered to allow that under the conditions of the statute, and just ask the commission to grant our interim rate request.
Thank you. Anything from the division?
Nothing from the division.
Okay. Nothing further from me, so we will adjourn. Thank you very much for being here, and